rushing in where angels fear to tread. This is a formerly Christian and conservative, now neither, talking politics and religion. They tell us never talk politics and religion. I say we should talk about it all the time, because the reason they don't want us talking about it is because they know that if we do, we'll find out that we have a lot more in common than we have different, or that we have in difference. And we will find out that they're playing a game on us, and that the whole thing is a setup. And boy, how appropriate to have Rocky Stucci in the house for the first show. Rocky, hopefully we can get you on as a guest here. But you know, I have not talked about politics a lot, or really at all, because I've been doing a show that's about religion, and yet I felt a little bit like a hypocrite, because I sit here and tell you all the time that politics and religion are inextricably linked, and yet I won't talk about politics. So that's a bit hypocritical. And I know it's a risk, because some of you don't want to talk about politics. Whenever I talk about politics, I run the risk of alienating people and having people leave the channel. But you know what? I have to be true to who I am. And this is part of who I am. This is part of what I do. And this is part of me. And if you can't separate the religious beliefs and the spiritual beliefs, and if you can't separate the fact that I help you tremendously in your spiritual life from any political views that I might have that you don't like, well, it's been nice knowing you. It's been nice knowing you. And in the words of who was it? The guy on Curly Bill, I think his name was. He played by Forrest. Played by crap, I can't remember the guy's name now. But when Wyatt Earp was leaving town, and Wyatt says, "Okay, we're leaving," he says, "Well, bye." And that's about the way I feel. If you're going to leave me over open political discourse, then, well, bye. That may seem harsh, but that's just the way it is. So, you know, I was formerly Christian. I'm not Christian anymore. I'm spiritual. I was formerly conservative. I probably still lean towards conservative, but I'm not a card-carrying Republican anymore. I've been a delegate to the Republican National Convention. I've been a state coordinator for national presidential campaigns. I'll just be honest with you. This is where I used to come from. I was a state coordinator for the Pat Buchanan campaign. That's how conservative I was. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not at that place anymore. So I'm a guy that, you know, much like my religious stature, I don't have any doctrines to defend. I don't have any platform to defend. I am truly independent. I am truly my own man, and I can speak, I think, really from the center. I can speak from a person that is unaffiliated. Trey says, "It's been nice knowing you." I can speak unaffiliated, and I can speak honestly, and I'm going to, and if that upsets you, I'm sorry, but I'm not really sorry. But I am a little bit, because I shouldn't be doing this, but I have to do it because it is who I am, and that's just what we're going to do. So, of course, the dominant thing in the news now is this whole take a knee NFL thing. So we have to talk about the take a knee NFL thing. And there's basically a couple of misconceptions and lies that they're trying to say they're misconception, but they're really lies. Well, everyone has a right to protest. No, they don't. And I'll tell you why they don't. I spent many years working for the Marriott Corporation. Rocky Stucci in the chat room works for a major corporation. And when you are hired by a major corporation, you sign a document that says you will not engage in political activity on the job. You're forbidden. I was forbidden while wearing Marriott uniform to engage in political protests. I was forbidden while on Marriott property. And I also worked for Hilton, same thing. And they're not going to tell you this, but every single one of those players do sign the same contract that says they won't protest politically while in uniform, while at team facilities, while at team sanctioned meetings. They have all signed a contract, every one of them, that says they won't protest while at work. So if I didn't have the right to protest while I was at work for Marriott, neither do these NFL players have the right to protest while they are working for the NFL. That's just the facts. And the reason why we couldn't do it at Marriott, we couldn't do it at Hilton, they can't do it at Disney, they can't do it at Universal Studios. I worked for Universal briefly, same thing, is because those places are trying to create an environment of escapism. It's supposed to be, you go to Disney, you go to Marriott, you go to a Hilton, you're there to relax, you're there to enjoy. You shouldn't have to be subject to somebody else's political opinions when you're paying to stay at the place. And the NFL used to be that way. It used to be a nice place of, it was escapism. There aren't any independent NFL players. They all are under contract to the NFL. So this myth that they have the right to protest is not only a misconception, it's a lie. They don't have the right to protest while in uniform. In fact, they are contractually obligated not to do it. Period. Now, I have no problem. I was in the U.S. Air Force for 6 years. I served this country overseas. And if you want to protest after the game, if you want to protest on your own time, then you are perfectly 100% able and you have the right to protest. And I support your right to protest 100%. But the day that you are wearing an NFL uniform and you decide to protest, you're in violation of your contract and you're in violation of your covenant with me. And I'll tell you about myself. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I haven't watched in years because I don't have a TV, but I signed up with YouTube TV because I wanted to watch football. The Buccaneers have looks like a good team this year. I wanted to enjoy it and watch it. Oh, there was a lady on Survivor who was wearing a uniform. Yeah. And she got in trouble too. So anyway, I wanted to watch it. I mean, I like watching football. I spent almost 10 years of my life playing the game. But guess what? I just finished my subscription for YouTube TV today. Because the only reason I got it was to watch NFL. I'm not going to watch those guys who are going to protest while wearing uniform in violation of their contract with their team and in violation of their covenant with me as a fan. I don't care what your political views are. I want you to run the damn ball, catch the damn ball, and play defense. I want you to let me escape from my world for a couple of hours. Now there's something else. These guys that are making minimum $1 million, and they're protesting in a stadium that was built by millions of dollars of taxpayer money, that's supported by millions of dollars of taxpayer money and subsidies. And they're protesting a protest that 50% of the people in the stadium are against. Why should I pay $100? Why should I pay $100 to go sit and watch some guy making $1 million violate his contract and put his political views in my face? Why should I pay that money? And why should they violate a time-honored tradition that I've enjoyed? And why is anybody saying anything about it? And we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this. When Colin Kaepernick started this whole thing, when he kneeled during the national anthem, I guess it was last year, he was doing it to protest police brutality and what he felt was poor treatment for people of color in the United States. Oh, the heck with this political correctness. He was doing it because he thought the cops were beating up black folks. And he had a point. And when Colin Kaepernick did that, he was doing it for a reason. He was calling attention to something that was, in his mind, very real and was, to anybody's mind, at least a somewhat valid thing. He was bringing up a good point. And may I say, he was bringing up a point that Barack Obama was too chicken to address in 8 years of his presidency. How can a guy be president for 8 years, a black guy, when blacks are 14, 15% of the population of the United States, and they're almost 70% of the population of the prisons in the United States, and not say one damn word about it? That's because Barack Obama didn't care about black people anymore, and he cared about white people. Seems like the only people Barack Obama cared about was Muslim people. And since we're talking about Barack Obama, could you imagine what would have happened if while Barack, and so they're not doing the same protest that Kaepernick's doing. The protest now is against the president of the United States. The president of the United States said something that half the people in the United States believe, and these players didn't like it. So now they're protesting, and they're not protesting against police brutality. They're not protesting against black people being treated poorly. They're protesting against the president of the United States. And because of the makeup of the NFL right now, it's predominantly black players protesting against a white president. That's just the way it is. Could you imagine what would have happened if while Barack Obama was president, white players were protesting Barack Obama? Can you imagine what would have happened? There would have been cries of racism. These guys would have been kicked off the team. These guys would have been fined. They might even have been jailed because they were white guys protesting against a black president. It would have been a conflagration. It would have blown up. It would have been horrible. But when black players predominantly, and there's white players as well, I think the NFL is probably about 70% black right now. And listen to LeBron James in the NBA. If the NBA was playing on my front lawn, if LeBron James was playing on my front lawn, I would not open my drapes. So now you've got black athletes protesting a white president. Why isn't that racist? If white athletes had been protesting a black president, it would have been racist. And the funny thing is, the president's being called racist for saying something about the players violating their contracts, and that's racist. But black players protesting against a white president just because they don't like him. We don't like what he said. So we're going to violate our contracts. We're going to kneel. It's a double standard, folks. And it's just another attempt for them to start a race war. They want blacks and whites at each other's throats. That's why when a white president makes a general statement about players under contract kneeling and disrespecting the national anthem and the flag of the United States, which again, I spent 6 years in the U.S. Air Force. And he says that they should get those sons of bitches off the field. That's what he believes. That's what half the people in the country believe, because half the people voted for him. And when he says that, he's racist. But when NFL players who are predominantly black kneel against a white president, that's not racist. That's called a double standard. That's called divide and conquer. Trump is trying to say, look, and I'm taking Trump's position at this part. Listen, it's the American flag. We're all Americans. Stand. Don't kneel. Don't protest during our national anthem that people have died for. Whether you love this country, I know this country's got its problems, but that flag does represent the United States of America. And there's a lot of people that have bled and died for that flag. And there's a lot of people that have bled and died to give those guys the right to kneel and disparage their memory. And those same guys that gave, and gals that gave their blood, red, yellow, black, white, they would still give their blood again to support these people's right to protest, even though they don't agree with it. I couldn't go to a game now. I remember going to hockey games. I'm a hockey fan. I used to go to a lot of hockey games. I haven't been in a while. And you'd see every now and then one of these, I almost said a bad word, one of these idiots that wouldn't take off their hat during the national anthem. And I have personally knocked hats off the heads of fools who would not take them off during the national anthem. I have. So if I went to a game now, there is no doubt that I would get in a fight before the game even started. So I don't even go. I can't go. And that right has been denied me by the rights of guys that won't honor their contracts and the rights of guys that break a covenant with me to protest in a stadium that my tax dollars paid for. to throw something in my face that I paid $100 not to see, all so I could go and watch a game that I enjoyed and spent 8 years of my life playing. All because why? They don't like the president. If you don't like the president, don't like the president, but don't violate your contract. Don't violate your covenant with me. And don't use the facilities that I have paid for to force your political rights or your political thoughts down my throat. And don't desecrate the national anthem and the flag of this country that has given you the ability to be where you are in so doing. So this is what, if I owned an NFL team, this is what I would do. Because make no doubt about it, guys that own NFL teams don't make their living from NFL teams. They own NFL teams because they want to make money. This will be a great opportunity for me. If I've got players that are kneeling in the violation of their contract, I'm cutting them. Take a knee, take a hike. You're out. And a lot of those players are high dollar players. So I can bring in players that don't make as much money. And trust me, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cut Mike Evans because he kneeled, there wouldn't be 1,000 less people in the stadium next week when Humphreys takes his place or Godwin takes his place. Fill in the blanks for your team. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cut Deshaun Jackson because he's in violation of his contract, there wouldn't be 1,000 less people in the stadium next week because he wasn't there. But there would be 30, 40, 50 million more dollars in my bank account. Because they're in violation of the contract, you could cut them and you wouldn't have to pay them. If I was an NFL owner, that's what I would do. I would get cost containment back for my team. And you could very probably break the players' union, which is driving the salaries up to ridiculous heights. I know the guys, it's a very, very hard sport. I know it's like being in a car wreck 30 times a game if you're a running back. And I know that they deserve good money, but do they really deserve 20, 30, 40, 50 million, 60, 100, 150, 200 million dollars? I don't know. That's what I would do. But that's me. That's me. But the whole idea is it's all a charade. It's all a travesty. It's all a mockery. It's all about divide and conquer. And it shows that there are forces that be in this world, just like religion is trying to divide us and conquer us. These guys are trying to divide us and conquer us as well. They don't have the right to kneel contractually. They shouldn't be doing it. And they're kneeling in a stadium that I paid money for. They're kneeling in a stadium that I paid $100 to see. And they're protesting a president. They're just protesting against a president. And if it were reversed, if the president were black and the players were predominantly white, there would be screams of racism like you've never heard, and it would not have been able and allowed to continue. Now that it's predominantly black players against a white president, it's okay, it's political. We'll hold on, we'll link arms with them, we'll support them. If it were predominantly white players protesting a black president, they would already be fired. It's racism. Racism against white people is just as bad as racism against black people. All racism is evil. Now, turning to religion for a minute. You're looking at, if you watch Coast to Coast, if you look at the Coast to Coast website, where are the coaches? Where are the owners? But if you watch the Coast to Coast website, you'll see that in the last week, you've had stories about people's blood getting stolen. You've had stories about human sacrifice taking place. You've had stories about exorcists saying that the end of the world is coming. Not only does the political structure know that things are shaking and wavering, the religious structure knows that things are shaking and wavering. And they're doing everything they can to scare you into running back home to church. They want you to believe people are coming to steal your blood. They want you to believe people are coming to kidnap you and offer you as sacrifices. They want you to believe that's the rapture is coming, even though they've reset the date now 5 or 6 times just with this time. They are trying to scare you. Politics are trying to divide you. Religion is trying to scare you. They're working hand in hand to try to keep you away from the focus of unity and spiritual growth, and in the frequency of fear and division. Stop being afraid and stop allowing them to divide you. And who really cares if you see the NFL or not? I'm a formerly Christian, formerly conservative guy, now neither. And that's my take on politics and religion. I shouldn't do this, but I'll look into the chat room and see what people have to say. Let's see. What do they say? Play ball, protest on your own time. I agree. They're supposed to respect the flag, even though, yeah, they are supposed to respect the flag. I think this is a paradigm shift, and we should take advantage that we do have NFL zombies to wake up. That's an interesting point. I'll never put my hand on my heart during the anthem, as I'm not aligning myself with any flag, country, government, or human. Terry, that's your right. I happen to disagree with you, but that is your right, and I respect your right. And as long as you're not working at the hotel that I want to go and enjoy a nice weekend at and doing it, then I'm okay. It is an unfortunate, hypocritical reality that we live in, says Rocky Stucci of the Rocky Stucci Show. You ought to check in to the Rocky Stucci Show. It's the oldest trick in the book. Yep, all the Black Lives Matter stuff died down, so we had to start up a new controversy. Originally, the players didn't even go out into the field after the national anthem, until after the national anthem. Let's just go back to that. That's actually a pretty good idea, Ronnie B. or Roni B. I don't remember them not going out until after the national anthem, but you know what? That's a great idea. I can see Jeff's point, especially as a veteran. Thank you. It's about respect to those who serve in the military and the first responders and the sacrifice. I agree. USA is a mess, but it's still the best. We have to protect the freedoms we have. I agree with that. It's showing respect to the country. Standing wouldn't be showing respect to the president, but to the country and to the presidency. There's something to be said for respecting the presidency, the office of the presidency. I didn't like Barack Obama. I loathed Barack Obama. I didn't like anything he did. I didn't like anything he stood for, but I still respected the presidency. And I didn't take a knee to him. If he'd have been driving by, I would have acted with respect and courtesy. I didn't respect Barack Obama particularly, but I respected the presidency of the United States of America. And it's a sad thing when people are being paid millions of dollars and are being lauded as heroes to disrespect the presidency of the United States. You're not a hero. You're a thug. You're a two-bit protester. Might as well be throwing rocks through windows. It's the same thing. To honor the system is to respect people. Balance is found in the middle. Does anyone truly deserve that much? I don't think so. The elites are causing division. Yes, they are. It probably is staged, and some people just picked up on it. It's fake, pre-planned drama distraction. I agree. The anthem continued to be a game day fixture. NFL players stayed in the locker room. That's a great idea. White and black humans are gods on earth. We're both humans. We're all humans. Nowadays, you're allowed to be racist towards white people, and that's sad. It's true. It's true. I lost my track. Sorry. Politics and religions are invented to make us divided. That's right. I know who Francis Scott Key was. I know he wasn't a wonderful saint, and I don't even like the song, but it is the national anthem. Thank you, Shay. We're not worshiping the flag. We're respecting the flag. I agree. Sports and politics should be separated. And while we're talking about separation, if you really believe in the separation of church and state, if the government really believes in the separation of church and state, if churches really believe in the separation of church and state, end the 501c3 tax deduction for churches. Let them pay their taxes like everybody else. Why aren't we protesting against Joel Osteen making all that obscene, Joel obscene amounts of money? If you really believe in the separation of church and state as much as you whine and squeal about it, then practice separation of church and state. Drop your 501c3, pay your damn taxes. There we go. They've made a mockery. I agree. They made a mockery. We hate our prime minister over in Scotland. Davey says everyone wants to go back to Thatcher, but you have to respect the role as it is democracy. I agree. You're not a hero. You're a complete zero. I agree with that, Donna. Myself in the Fed, I agree with that. They want us to be separate and to be easy to control. So there you go. Whether I should have done it or not, that's a perspective from a formerly conservative Christian who's now neither, rambling on for about 25 minutes about politics and about religion. I hope it doesn't cost me any subscribers. I hope that folks that are of the political ilk might tune in and say, hey, we'll listen to what the rest that he has to say. Oh, if the churches paid taxes, it would make a significant impact on the deficit. I'm no Rocky Stucci, but that is my 2 cents on politics and religion. And hopefully we'll have Rocky as a guest on this segment. We're going to have Scotty Roberts as a I think a regular on this segment, but we're not sure. So we'll just say he'll be a guest. So that's it, folks. Whatever you think, you're allowed to think it. Whatever you believe, you're allowed to believe it. But your right to yell fire ends in a crowded theater. And we ought to consider that. Can't we just all get along? Can't we just have some continued respites? Can't we just have some sensibility? Can't we just have some? Oh, and I wanted to show you this too. You think, oh, it's everyone hates it. It's terrible. It's awful. No one is supporting of Trump, or no one is supporting, or no one's against these players. Well, explain this for me, if you will. This is the game that just happened last night, Thursday Night Football. This is in Green Bay. And the teams weren't even kneeling, but they were standing there with their arms linked against the President of the United States. Notice the flags here, and notice what these fans are saying. They've got their hands over their heart during the national anthem. They're cheering the national anthem. And they're chanting USA, USA, USA. Are all these people racist? Are all these people bigots? Or are all these people Americans that love their country and wanted to go watch a football game without having to worry about all this crap? Who are they? What are they? That's up to you to decide, and only you can decide it. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, a former Christian and conservative that's now neither, and that's been my ramblings on politics and religion. I'd like to encourage you to be excellent to each other and make the change that you want to see. And I want to encourage you to stay fearless, my friends.